if you're still in the same way, or you're still thinking the same way, or being the same way, or seeing the world in the same lens in which you do for so many years, and you're not integrating all of the beautifulness around you in the world that could be so positive for you.
When everyone sees you moving differently and walking in alignment, it encourages them to do the same. And so if we're all individually walking in our purpose, now we have an elevated consciousness throughout humanity.
Yeah, I like that word integration, because to me that takes multi-faceted people, multi-dimensional people, various backgrounds, culture, and you integrate them for the greater good of humanity.
They're using it because there's a physiological change that happens within the body, also a spiritual change.
Sometimes you don't know what you need or want until you're aware of what you don't have. Greetings, hello, and salutations. I want to welcome you all back to another episode of To Whom This May Concern. All things cannabis education and a whole lot of other shit too. All right, on today we are thrilled to introduce Dr. Carly Bell, a licensed naturopathic physician, adjunct medical faculty member, innovative content creator, and a dynamic keynote speaker. As the founder of Kenise Retreats, her bespoke wellness travel agency, Dr. Carly journeys around the world sharing her expertise on holistic wealth with the knack for captivating audience through inspiring stories. She is dedicated to crafting transformative wellness experiences, empowering individuals to achieve optimal health, one retreat at a time. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Carly. Yay! It's so nice to have you here, Dr. Carly.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and it's such an honor.
Oh, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. The women that come on this platform that I have, they are truly extraordinary women. Dr. Carly, you have had a journey of life. A journey of life. You have gone through the ebbs, the flows. You have elevated from one person to the next, captivating all your personas. How do you do it? And a mom. Yeah. Tell me, how do you do everything? How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, I think the way that I do it all is having great people to share and talk to, like yourself. And community is really important. And so just being connected with myself and being connected with community and family and just being balanced, I think is the best way to be able to make sure that you can have it all.
You can have it all. Now I want to talk about community and family and then traveling. How does that as your core is being around community, family, incorporating into traveling, and then being able to create holistic wellness within that travel? How is that integrated but makes it one unique experience for you?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
It's such a very layered question. So I'll start with, the part about being aligned with the authentic self. And for me, the thing that's most important to me is really travel experiences and community and wellness. And so I wanted to bring all of those things together, right? And so how can I do that? And really that's how I decided to begin a bespoke wellness travel business. And so through community and being able to converse with various people who are also in the wellness space, who also really enjoy travel, and deciding that, I can actually merge the two loves of my life and be able to serve my community in a way that can elevate healing, but as well create adventure and help with others to become more aligned with who they are.
To be more aligned with who they are. That's what we talk about all the time.
Yes, it is.
I think every conversation we have is just, each time it's like peeling back the layers of an onion. It's just like evolving into who we authentically are. I think, this is my theory, we're not just one thing or one person. We're very complex.
Yes.
one day you this person, the next you may be this. It's just who is showing up in this moment and accepting all of who I am.
Yes.
To be able to do. And I think traveling does that. You'll be able to travel and get to see so many different cultures and participate in different languages and speak. Sometimes not with words, but through energy, through peace, through love. Oh my goodness. Okay, Dr. Carla, we can go all day. We can go all day. Okay, let's see what questions we have here. All right. This is a good one. So, you're known for engaging your audience with compelling stories. I'm always compelled in your stories. Could you share a specific story from one of your retreats that profoundly impacted you or someone's life?
Absolutely. So I've recently attended a wellness retreat in Jamaica. So I'm actually partnering with this particular retreat host called Naturopathic. So Kenise Retreats will be partnering with them. And so I went there to experience plant medicine retreat there in Jamaica. And it was just absolutely life-changing. It actually helped me get much more clear on my purpose through travel wellness. I knew I wanted to do travel wellness, but exactly how that looked like and who was my target audience, this particular experience really helped me to do that. It helped me be able to find clarity just within my life, as well as through my purpose and my vision and my career as well. I was just able to make some connections with individuals from around the world that were also attending the retreat. And we are still in communication. We just had an integration call. So when we have these retreats, it's not like you leave and then that was a great experience. And we continue the connection afterwards, and it's called integration. And we'll continue to communicate, commune, and make sure that you're able to integrate all the things that you learned at the retreat into, your actual everyday life. And so at this particular retreat, I got really clear on exactly who it is that I'm working with. And so the profound experience really helped me understand that, I'm going to work with people who are really looking to elevate, people who are really looking to pivot in life. They may feel stuck. They may be going through a transition. It could be divorce. It could be they're recently widowed, or they're grieving, or they're just in a career that they hate. They want more. They're not exactly sure how to get there. They feel like they're not quite aligned with their authentic self. And so I became really clear that the purpose of me creating extraordinary experiences is not just so that people can have the experience, but so that they can learn how to go within, to have elevated consciousness, so that they can have broadened perspectives. And ultimately, this is really for the betterment of humanity. Because when we individually can take care of ourselves, and when we're clear and we're walking in our purpose, that resonates with everyone in your life. It resonates with your children, with your spouse, with your friends, your family. When everyone sees you moving differently and walking in alignment, it encourages them to do the same. And so if we're all individually walking in our purpose, now we have an elevated consciousness throughout humanity.
Yes, elevated consciousness. Yes. I feel the shift that's happening in the world. I feel the shift that's happening within the people who want to see it, very open to see it. And I think that's where we should start. Start with just being open. We're not saying you have to try these things or try a different mindset, but if you're still in the same way, or you're still thinking the same way, or being the same way, or seeing the world in the same lens in which you do for so many years, then you're not integrating all of the beautifulness around you in the world that could be so positive for you.
Absolutely.
And so I love that, Dr. Carla. Let me tell you, I can sit here and listen to you all day and I just be like this. What else have you done, Dr. Carla? Tell us, tell the youngins. We need to know. But okay, so we talked about integration. I like that word integration, because to me, that takes multifaceted people multidimensional people, various backgrounds, culture, and you integrate them for the greater good of humanity. Right? And so with that, it's not just about the personas, but what we consume, whether we are listening to it, watching it, putting it on our body, whether we're eating it. It's all about what is our consumption so that we can produce an optimal life, an optimal way of living. And so my question is, because this is all things cannabis education and a whole lot of other things too, but with that integration, we should talk about plant medicine and being integrated not only for physical health, but mental, spiritual, and emotional health, overall holistic health. But there's such a big stigma behind it, or a lack thereof knowledge of it, or some type of reprogramming that said that this is the devil's lettuce. And my granddaddy always said, God ain't never made them bad. The people do. God never made them bad. The people do.
I love that.
So my question is, how do you see cannabis complementing other holistic therapies, and what unique benefits does it offer in the realm of wellness?
Oh, wow. And so I'll preface this by saying, cannabis is definitely one of the areas of medicine that I practice, certifying patients for their cannabis certifications, as well as doing education on cannabis for patients just around the country regarding how exactly they can properly use it for their particular health condition. I also write curriculum for cannabis for university. So I know a little bit about cannabis.
A 6-hour CE is not a little bit about cannabis.
So cannabis medicine, I'll say this, cannabis is my favorite plant, and it's my favorite plant because being a plant medicine physician, I'm a licensed naturopathic physician. There is no other plant that my patients come to me and tell me that this plant is the reason why I'm still here. This plant is the reason why I have quality of life. So whether we're talking about an MS patient, that's like a multiple sclerosis patient, whether we're talking about someone that has severe menstrual cramps, someone who has anxiety, severe migraines, these patients, cannabis serves very well. And if you've ever had a migraine, and there are people who have migraines every other day, it can be debilitating. If you have a neurodegenerative disease, such as a MS, and you're not able to walk and get around as you used to, it can greatly affect your quality of life. And so cannabis can be integrated into the wellness plan for these patients, giving them relief from inflammation, giving them the relief from the pain. Works very well for anxiety if you're using it properly, because cannabis can be anxiety inducing, right? And if we don't use it properly. And so that's why having guidance is very important. And then that's also why I also really advocate for regulation, because if you have to buy it off the street, you might get a great strain, that really helps you, or you may get something that makes you not feel as great as you would like. And so by integrating cannabis, we're able to help elevate people's threshold for pain, help to be able to actually help people to be able to go more within, and help them be able to actually live their life the way that they want to. And so I think with the mental health, with the physical health, whether it's glaucoma or nausea and vomiting, hands down, the best medication for nausea and vomiting on the planet, I know. I've took the Zofran and all the other antiemetics that are out there. And when you say instant relief with cannabis without the tardive dyskinesia side effects, and that's, for people who may not have a medical background, some of these medications can cause symptoms where you have Parkinson-like symptoms. And so cannabis, we don't have any of that. So the very low side effect profile of cannabis is also very appealing.
Thank you, Dr. Carr. I'm glad you explained that very well for the people to say cannabis is medicine.
Yes.
Okay? Cannabis is medicine. There's such a big stigma, which I guess when you're in the realm, you don't think about the stigma. You just think about the healing of it. And so I just love that this plant is available for all ages, all backgrounds, all cultures, all everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen pediatric patients who take, of course, not the inhalation form, but you know, if you have to have a nebulizer, things that way, I think there should be some type of, you know, system or innovative inventions to make that happen, because it's still medicine. It's binding to your receptors. It's in your endocannabinoid system. They're located in 12 body systems, activating, deactivating, blocking. It's doing the same function as medicine, because it is medicine, but to me, with less side effects or less harsh side effects. You know, you might get sleepiness, maybe some GI issues. You know, if you've taken cannabis long periods of time, you know, there may be some hyperemesis, but there's no death. You know,
that part.
Maybe so, right? Like that, you know, I'm trying to tell me there's no death. Maybe overdose, and let's talk about the difference between overdose and overdose with death. Overdose meaning you can take too much of the medication and it causes you to feel some side effect. Overdose with death is a death in that you died because you clearly took too much of this medication.
Yeah.
That hasn't been reported with cannabis.
Doesn't happen with cannabis.
No. You know, and I just think about when people don't question if you go into a college party and you see everybody got all the drinks in their hand, or you coming home late after work and you have a glass of wine. Nobody questions it.
Yeah.
But you forbid, Lord, take a piece of a plant off the earth and put it in a different formulation, whether it's a gummy, a tincture, smokable form, a beverage. Now you've somehow corrupted your entire mind and body. And so I just want to say thank you for being here, Dr. Colley, spreading this awareness, this education, and looking as beautiful as you do when you do it, because this is the goal, to destigmatize what this plant is, what it looks like, for those who work in it and help heal. And this is not just, you know, somebody off the street saying, I ain't saying they don't have the knowledge, but we talking about Dr. Carly here. Okay, Dr. K. Counter here. We got some legitimacy a little bit behind here, so we just want to get y'all there. Okay, let's see here. So you did talk about the cannabis curriculum.
Yes.
What was the biggest challenges or surprises with writing that? And then how open are medical physicians now to, you know, cannabis, since there really wasn't any classes taught about it in school?
Exactly. So I've created cannabis courses for several different organizations. Probably the largest will be St. Louis University. I created a post-baccalaureate course on medical cannabis, including like dosing and ratios and those types of things. And then I've also, another organization I created for would be the Clinical Wellness Academy. And that was specifically a continuing medical education course for physicians. And so thinking about that target audience and knowing that we're creating educational materials for doctors was very, very important, is the citations and the references. And so that was part of what my duties were, was ensuring that we had proper citations and references for all of the information. And I also was kind of the face of the class. So I presented all the lectures and whatnot for the modules. But I would say the biggest challenge is really finding reputable research. And it does exist. There's a lot of people who say, oh, we just don't have the research. And that's a big cop out. We have plenty of research on cannabis. We need more. Absolutely. But there are plenty through NIH. There's plenty of reputable research around cannabis medicine. So that was one of the challenges. But what I would say that physicians are much more open now to learning about cannabis. I would say not every physician is going to be on the cannabis bandwagon. And that's primarily because they're not educated in it. And so if you don't have it in your toolbox, you can't recommend it. You don't have an opinion about it. And you may even be against it because it's not in your toolbox. And that's the biggest thing. So cannabis education is really critical for physicians, for patients, for legislature, right? So the people who are making the laws really need to understand about cannabis as well. For example, in Texas, where they say, you know, the law is nothing smokable or nothing inhalable. That can be an issue because if someone is having a panic attack or someone is in severe pain, the fastest way to get relief, as you know, is through inhalation. There are other ways to inhale without burning and making and inhaling combustible particle. We have the dry flower vaporizers, for example. But when you have lawmakers who don't understand the science and the medicine behind inhalation is the most rapid relief, and it may be necessary. For example, an epileptic patient, right, who may need really rapid relief, then you make laws that don't really align with the science, such as nothing smokable, nothing inhalable, because you have this idea of we don't want people walking around high, you know, around the great state of Texas. And so we have to educate everyone, not just the community, the lawmakers, the patients, and the physicians, so that everyone understands exactly how to use the medicine, what its benefits are, and what the potential risks could be, which are obviously very minimal. And so, but with the curriculum development, I think that it's opening new doors because it's specifically for physicians who are looking for continuing medical education around cannabis, so that they understand how to properly prescribe, the dosings, the ratios, what are the best routes of administration. So these are all things that are really going to resonate with physicians and help them be more willing to have conversations with their patients around cannabis medicine.
Yes, no, this is opening.
Yes.
You know, I think in school I only had, I didn't even know, full class. I think we just had a little section about the endocannabinoid system. I'm like, how can I say I'm a healer if I'm not giving, you know, patients full autonomy to choose how they should heal, or I'm not digging deep enough to find all alternatives that could be a solution to their healing.
Right.
So with that, how did that make you feel, being that this started on War on Drugs with the Black and Brown community, and you being a part of the Black and Brown community, a woman coming in this male-dominated industry, because cannabis is a large industry, from medical to recreational to industrial to politics and laws. You know, it's such a big industry. How did you just say one day, I'm going to authentically bring awareness to this plant, which is something that's so taboo? You know, most physicians wouldn't think that. They would think, is she crazy? Has she lost, has she lost her mind? You know, and because I went through that. When I told people that, you know, traditional pharmacy ain't for me. How did you blaze through such a trail to authentically walk in yourself head up high as this new profound healer in this Western day society?
Yeah. So being a naturopathic doctor, I really come from, you know, we're like the Black and brown people of the medical industry. If that makes sense, right? Makes sense. You know, and so I've always kind of been like on that side of, you know, we don't quite know if you're really legit, right? And, you know, what is this hocus pocus that you're talking about? So cannabis falls right in line with that. So I would say that I was always comfortable kind of being an outlier in medicine, right? Now,
like cannabis.
Cannabis is an outlier, right? And so, but I would say, you know, learning the history and why cannabis is so stigmatized was just very empowering. And, you know, learning that people have been missing out on the medicine that could just change their life because of, in particular, one ignorant human being, Henry Anslinger, who I'm referring to, deciding that, this drug is, making white women want to sleep with black men in the jazz scene, and just the level of ridiculousness. So that is very infuriating, that you take something that has been used for millennia around the world. You're talking about ancient Egypt, ancient China, and all of the places throughout Asia and the Americas. And it just takes one, which is we need to always be cognizant, because history can and does repeat itself, right? It only takes one person in power to affect everyone around the globe. And that's exactly what happened with cannabis. And so being able to come through and say, hey, this is the truth about this medicine. Even people who don't have a prescription for medical cannabis are still using cannabis medically. Yes. And I have to always have that conversation, even with other medical professionals. Well, it's different. They have a prescription. Well, why are the people using it who don't have a prescription? They're using it for anxiety. They're using it for pain. They're using it for depression, right? They're using it medically, whether they're cognizant that that's what they're doing or not. That's what they're doing. They're using it because there's a physiological change that happens within the body, also a spiritual change that happens within the body through the plant. Yeah. Whether you know that or not, what you're looking for is the benefit. So whether you have a prescription or not, you're going to get the benefit. The other thing that, a profound experience that I had that really motivated me to want to be a cannabis medicine advocate and educator. I had a patient who came in, a young man, young Caucasian man who had recently been diagnosed with MS. And he told me, he said, when I use cannabis, I feel so much better. I can actually walk better. The numbness and the tingling goes away. The spasticity is decreased, all the things. He said, but my wife, she doesn't want her husband to be a weed head. And my wife is very much against me using it. And so what should I do? What can I do? Because I don't want to cause conflict in my home. And it really kind of broke my heart in a way, that this man knows that this medicine is working for him, but because of the stigma that has been created, right, in order to ultimately put Black and brown people in jail to help with the prison industrial complex, at the end of the day, it's what that's about, that this man doesn't feel comfortable using the medicine in his home because his wife has bought into the stigma, right, of reefer madness, right, the devil's lettuce. And so, I offered him, bring your wife in for education, or I'll have a telehealth, conversation to give her some background and some information about the plant, why it's so effective for your condition. I also gave him some options of where you don't have to smoke, because he hadn't been educated in all the different administrative routes. And so, or routes of administration. And so I explained to him, you can use the edibles. You can, if you need to inhale, let's get you a dry flower vaporizer. He had never heard of that. And so just giving him the tinctures and those options so that, his wife doesn't feel that, their home smells like cannabis, which is a wonderful smell, by the way. But,
that's right.
was very motivating for me. Yeah. Just understanding the great need that people have so that they have access to something that's going to help improve the quality of their life. Yeah,
they need the access. I don't understand how, I can't understand. This is America.
Yeah.
I wish I was playing the song. That was playing in my, this is America. It was playing in my head. And I'm just like, how can you take away healing from the people that you govern? You're supposed to be governing all people. How can you take away that healing?
One day I want to be able to walk into a cannabis dispensary or go to my pharmacist and say, I need cannabis because I have an autoimmune disorder that is going to help to modulate my immune system, right? Or, I have chronic pain and I am looking for a particular strain that can help me with this. Now we do know, right? That there are certain cannabinoids that do help more so with pain, etc. But I think that there's a lot of research to be done of which of these cannabinoids in the combination, right? Because I definitely believe in whole plant medicine, right? And so we talk about, right, the entourage effect, but even beyond that, the plant was made to be used as a whole plant. When you start pulling out active constituents, you lose balance, and you lose other benefit from the other phytonutrients that are within that particular plant. But that's another rabbit hole. So when we're looking at what research really needs to happen, we really need to see research looking at all of the different phytochemicals that are within the plant and how synergistically they can help with particular conditions, whether it's mental health or physical health. And I think that that's really critical. I think we have a really good general overall picture of cannabis. We know it can help with pain and glaucoma and these things. And we know that CBN, can help really with sleep. And when we combine that with THC, even better, right? But there are so many cannabinoids that we haven't even scratched the surface. There's the terpenes and the flavonoids and how they interact together. So I think eventually we'll be able to create a medicine that has this particular terpene, right? So let's say that we have limonene, right? That is paired with this particular flavonoid, that's paired with these three particular cannabinoids. And this is a formulation that 99% of cancer patients find that they can enter into remission. That's where I would like to see, because we know, for example, cannabis causes cellular apoptosis, right? Causes those cancer cells to essentially commit suicide. And so let's dive deeper into that. I mean, I've read research studies where cannabis is helping to decrease organ transplant failure.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and of course, it has to do with the immune response, right? For that foreign tissue coming in, and cannabis can help decrease the rejection of an organ transplant. We're looking at fertility, for example. So, understanding that some of the endocannabinoids that are higher levels when a woman is ovulating, right? And being able to now, maybe woman that hasn't been able to carry a baby to term may now be able to, from us addressing the endocannabinoid system. So these are all very preliminary kind of early stage research that's just like, but we need researchers who are really devoted to this, who can really dive deep into that so we can actually find solutions, not just interesting information, but solutions for patients around the cannabinoid medicine.
No solutions, not just information.
Yes.
My papa will always say, you can have all the knowledge. But if you don't apply it, it's not wisdom.
That part.
So, you need to apply all this knowledge that we have. And I think we should definitely start in, healthcare universities, medical institutions, even law schools, any dental schools, any, healthcare professional school, because one thing you said is pharmacists. Like, you would love to go into your pharmacy, ask your pharmacist. That's my background. I graduated with my doctorate in pharmacy. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. This is medicine. I should be able to be the drug master. So if I know the top 300 drugs, please tell me why I don't know the other herbal, holistic wellness drugs that these plants are creating the drugs. They're creating the drugs. Like, they're coming from the plants.
Absolutely.
Why am I not learning about this? Why is this not health? So, sometimes when it's not there, you have to create, especially in the South. It's in, New York. It's in the West Coast. It's in the North. But it's not really a thing in the South, and I'm a true Southern woman. And I was like, well, it's not really here. Let's bring it. Let's open the eyes up. Sometimes you don't know what you need or want until you're aware of what you don't have.
Awareness.
That's it. Just some awareness. So for today, Dr. Carl, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom, giving your time. Thank you for sharing your love with the world, your energy with the world, your knowledge and wisdom. I just want to say, I love you. I am grateful for you. I am just really thankful to have the opportunity to learn from you and to spread this message and this awareness. So that's all I have for today.
Thank you, Dr. K. Dr. K. Canna.
It's
Yes. You're such a blessing in my life, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you're bringing your show to the community and bringing this education and awareness that is definitely missing. You're solving a problem. You're bringing solutions. And I just appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your vision. I love you too.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have for today. This is To Whom This May Concern, all things cannabis education, and we are logging out and staying elevated. Peace.